Title: The Other Slime. Summary. In a world already amazed by the rise of Rimuru Tempest, a new figure appears, quiet, graceful, and terrifyingly powerful. A mysterious girl with flowing silver hair, dressed in traditional clothing and carrying a katana laced with magic. She says little, smiles even less, and possesses powers that mirror Rimuru's, yet feel older, sharper, wilder. Who is she, and why does she feel so familiar? Chapter 1: The Silver Moon Descends. A strange ripple swept across the skies of Tempest one calm evening. Birds scattered, magical beasts grew restless, and even Rimuru paused mid-conversation, sensing a presence like his own yet different. Out of the forest mist walked a girl. Her long silver hair cascaded like moonlight, tied loosely behind her in a high ponytail. Her eyes, crimson and cold, flickered with the kind of ancient magic that makes even ogres freeze in place. She wore a deep navy haori and white hakama, her katana resting patiently at her hip. She didn't speak. She didn't bow. She merely looked toward Rimuru, then said in a voice like wind through steel. "So, you're the one they talk about. Let's see if you're worth the stories." Abilities. Like Rimuru, she has a unique skill set based on devouring and analyzing. Her version is called Eternal Consumption, Kagetsu, themed more around soul and memory. She controls a sentient sword named Tsukihana, which reacts to emotions and moon phases. She's not a demon lord, but something adjacent. Born from a different kind of reincarnation. A reflection, she calls it. Chapter 2: Unheard Steps, Unseen Shadows. The sun hung low over Tempest, casting long golden shadows across the town. Rimuru stood outside with Benimaru and Cheyenne, chatting casually about defense plans. A relaxed day. Laughter. Light-hearted teasing. Then nothing. No breeze. No sounds. Just her. Benimaru's hand flew to his blade. Cheyenne narrowed her eyes. But they were too late. She was already there. Standing no more than 3 steps away, the silver-haired girl tilted her head slightly. Her expression unreadable. Her crimson gaze, sharp as obsidian, studied them like a puzzle piece she wasn't sure fit. No one heard her approach. Not even Rimuru. And that silence felt unnatural. "Who are you?" Rimuru asked carefully. She glanced at him, then down at her hand, watching a silver mist curl from her fingers. "You don't know me. But I know what you are." Her voice was soft, almost delicate. But it carried weight. Like distant thunder. Chapter 3: Tsukihana's Whisper. Mist curl from her fingers. The katana at her side shimmered, a faint glow rippling along the sheath. Cheyenne's hand tightened on her weapon, but the girl didn't flinch. "You shouldn't fear me," she said. "I'm not your enemy." Benimaru stepped forward. "Then why hide your presence?" "Because I can." She smiled, barely. A twitch at the corner of her lips that didn't quite reach her eyes. She then slowly unsheathed her sword just a fraction, revealing a blade that shimmered like moonlight on still water. "This is Tsukihana. She doesn't draw for sport." The katana hummed in the air, almost as if alive. Rimuru frowned. "You're like me. I can feel it. But, not exactly. A failed reincarnation. Or maybe a parallel one. A reflection that found its way here. What do you call yourself?" "Rimuru Tempest. If alive." She closed her eyes for a moment, almost as if reliving a memory. "Then, call me Kagetsu." Chapter 4: Kagetsu of the Silver Mist. Later that evening, the trio sat around the low fire in the central plaza. Kagetsu sat apart, eyes scanning the night sky. "Why are you here?" Rimuru asked. She didn't answer right away. Then, "To observe." Maybe to correct. Correct what? That. I haven't decided. Benimaru shot Rimuru a look. Cheyenne still didn't trust her, but even she admitted silently, Kagetsu wasn't just powerful. She was something else. Something ancient and incomplete. Kagetsu stood abruptly. I'll be nearby. You won't see me. But I'll know when you need me. And with that, she vanished into the mist as quietly as she came. Chapter 5, Devil in the Doorway. It had only been a day since Kagetsu first appeared, and the entire city of Tempest felt on edge. Even Diablo, ever composed and unfazed, had felt it, the hum of power, the way time seemed to pause when she was near. He stood silently behind a door in Rimuru's chambers, cloaked in shadow, watching her as she sat sipping tea with Rimuru, Cheyenne, and Benimaru. Her presence was quiet. Too quiet. I've never encountered anyone quite like her, he mused, watching her movements. Then, without turning, Kagetsu spoke. You can come out now. Watching from behind doors doesn't suit a demon of your stature. The silence cracked like ice. The door opened slowly with a soft creak, and Diablo stepped through with a half-smile, crimson eyes glittering. Impressive, he said. You noticed me. Kagetsu finally turned her head, looking him directly in the eyes. I noticed you the moment you stepped into the hallway. Your aura is like smoke, sharp and bitter. Easy to taste. Rimuru blinked. Wait, you tasted his aura? She nodded. I taste magic. Yours is like cool spring water. His is brimstone and old sorrow. Diablo's smile faltered, just for a moment. That was a deeper analysis than he was used to. You're not from this world, are you? He asked. Kagetsu's expression didn't change. No. But I walk through many of them. Like cracked mirrors. Chapter 6, The Devil and the Reflection. The night deepened. Diablo now sat across from Kagetsu, sipping wine with his usual grace. The tension between them wasn't hostility, it was curiosity. A clash of ancient beings feeling each other out. Rimuru watched, eyes darting between them. So, you guys gonna fight or something? Kagetsu chuckled lightly, the first genuine sound of amusement she'd made. No. Not tonight. Diablo leaned forward slightly. And if I did challenge you? She stared into his eyes. I'd accept. And I'd win. The words weren't arrogant. They were a statement. Cold, quiet truth. Rimuru raised a hand. Okay. Let's maybe not test that in my living room? Chapter 7, The Measureless Blade. The next day, a sudden magical distortion rippled near the borders of Tempest, something powerful, angry, and heading straight toward the city. An enraged spirit beast, mutated by unstable magic, tore through the forest, its massive form crackling with corrupted energy. Rimuru and Benimaru immediately moved to intercept. Diablo followed with interest. But Kagetsu? She walked. By the time the others arrived, the beast was already within range, its roar shaking the treetops. Everyone be ready! Rimuru shouted. Kagetsu stepped in front of them. No need. And then, she vanished. One step forward, just one, and her presence vanished completely. Like a breath held too long. A blink later, she was behind the beast. Her katana, Tsukihana, was already sheathed. The beast froze. Time seemed to pause. Then it fell apart. Cleanly. Silently. A perfect, bloodless split down the center. The air hadn't even moved. There was no shockwave, no power flare. Just one cut. Benimaru's mouth opened, then closed. Diablo narrowed his eyes, stunned. Cheyenne whispered, "What was that?" Kagetsu didn't turn around. She simply said, "If you have to try hard, you're using too much strength." Rimuru's mouth twitched. Okay, yeah. She's way scarier than Veldora. Chapter 8, The Power No One Understands. Later that night, Rimuru, Diablo, and the others gathered to debrief, though really, they just stared at Kagetsu. Diablo was the first to speak. "You didn't even use magic, did you?" Kagetsu shook her head slightly. "Not in the way you understand it." "Then what did you use?" Rimuru asked. She looked at him, eyes distant. "A technique older than the laws of this world. I don't use magic. I command it. Reality bends if you cut it the right way." Silence. Even Diablo couldn't hide his admiration. And here I thought I was the monster in the room. She turned to him. "You are. Just not the biggest one." Chapter 9, Reflection Without a Frame. The city was quiet again. Too quiet. Rimuru stood on a balcony in the early dusk, watching the sun paint the sky in gold and violet. A gentle wind stirred his hair. He didn't hear her arrive. No footsteps. No flicker of magic. Just her. Kagetsu. She was suddenly there, standing no more than an arm's length away. Looking at him. Just looking. Her crimson eyes didn't blink. They studied every line of his face, every shift in his expression. Rimuru turned slowly. "You're staring." Kagetsu didn't respond at first. She tilted her head, just slightly, like she was trying to understand something she couldn't put into words. Then, barely audible, more breath than voice, she whispered. "A genderless version of me." Rimuru blinked. "What?" She said nothing else. Just turned and began to walk away. "Wait, hey, what does that mean?" he called after her. Kagetsu didn't answer. But her presence lingered even after she vanished, like a dream you can't shake. Chapter 10, The Mirror Speaks in Riddles. Later that night, Rimuru sat in the meeting hall with Diablo and Cheyenne, still turning the words over in his head. "She said I was a genderless version of her. But she's me?" Diablo folded his arms. "Or perhaps a different version entirely. A multiversal echo." Cheyenne huffed. "She's not like you, Rimuru. You're softer. Kinder." Rimuru smiled. "Thanks. I think." But somewhere deep inside, the words echoed again. "A genderless version of me." Chapter 11, When the Voice Speaks. After Kagetsu vanished once again into the mist, Rimuru stood still, alone on the balcony. Her words still hung in the air, heavier than they should have been. A genderless version of me. It didn't make sense. Not logically. But something in those words struck a chord deep inside him, one that he hadn't known was there. And then. Notice, anomaly detected. Rimuru froze. Seal? Analyzing target, subject identified, Kagetsu. Structure, compatible. Core signature, echoes masters. His heart skipped. Compatible? You mean, she's made of the same stuff as me? Correction, she is not you. But she is like you. Origin unclear. Composition, foreign, yet familiar. There is no known evolutionary path that explains her presence in this world. He took a step back, the weight of the realization pressing in. So what is she? There was a pause. A reflection. Not bound by this world's logic. Created perhaps unintentionally by your own existence across worlds. She may be your inverse. Your echo. Your failed possibility. Rimuru looked up toward the sky where Kagetsu had disappeared into shadow. An echo, of me? Warning, subject Kagetsu far surpasses current power thresholds. Engaging her directly is not advised. You're saying I'd lose? Affirmative. Instantly. And suddenly, Rimuru understood the way she looked at him. Not as a threat. Not even as a rival. But as something incomplete. Chapter 12, Chasing a Shadow. The night pressed on, but Rimuru didn't sleep. He sat at the edge of his bed, staring at the floor, still hearing Seal's voice echo in his mind. She may be your inverse. Your echo. Your failed possibility. Failed? What did that even mean? His fingers tightened slightly, and the shadows of his room rippled with restrained magic. That was the worst part, he hadn't sensed her at all. Not her arrival, not her departure, not even the magic she used to defeat that beast like it was a joke. How does someone like that even exist? He stood abruptly. The room shimmered around him as he cloaked himself in magical detection, layering sensory spells through the city. But there was nothing. Not even a trace. Not until he stepped outside. She was already there. Standing under a lantern, arms folded behind her back, silver hair catching the wind. Kagetsu looked up at the stars. Rimuru froze. You're really hard to track. That's because I don't leave footprints, she murmured. I want to talk. She glanced over her shoulder. Talking is how answers turn into more questions. Rimuru stepped closer, careful, measured. You said I'm a genderless version of you. What did you mean? Kagetsu didn't answer immediately. Instead, she looked at him fully now, those blood-red eyes searching his soul. I meant exactly what I said. You are what I was supposed to become. But didn't. So, a failed reincarnation? She shook her head slowly. No. A forgotten one. Chapter 13, The Story That Wasn't Chosen. Kagetsu turned, her gaze distant. In another world, in another time, I was meant to awaken like you. But something changed. Something shifted. I woke up wrong. I didn't become a slime. I became this. She motioned to herself, her human shape, her sword, her silence. A reflection cast in the wrong direction. The world I was born into rejected me. I didn't get a second chance like you did. I got a trial. So you wandered? Rimuru asked. She nodded once. From world to world. Trying to find the one where I belong. And now? Her eyes locked with his. Now I've found a world that doesn't reject me. And a version of me that succeeded. Chapter 14, The Memory Unveiled. The wind carried silence through the courtyard. Rimuru stood close to Kagetsu now, searching her face, her stillness. And just as he opened his mouth to speak again. I'll show you. Her voice was quiet. Not distant, vulnerable. Rimuru blinked. Show me, what? Everything. She reached out, slow, deliberate, and lightly pressed 2 fingers to his forehead. Rimuru's senses immediately shattered. The world around him fell away. Chapter 15, Her world was ash. He stood now in a burned field. Black sky. Red wind. A world that felt wrong. He was her. Not in body, but in feeling. He felt her pain, her loneliness. The absence of guidance. No great sage. No name-giving. No warmth. No friends. Just survival. Monsters hunted her. Spirits rejected her. The world twisted around her like it was trying to force her into a shape she didn't fit. She cried once. Early. That stopped quickly. The tears didn't help. He saw her wield Tsukihana for the first time, not as a weapon, but as a last resort. Surrounded, dying, and alone, she willed the blade into existence. She cut her own death in half. And then, she walked on. World to world. Never belonging. Chapter 16, The Moment She Gave Up. The next memory was slower. Softer. A forest. A calm glade. The first place in any world she found peace. She sat by a river, watching the water pass. What am I even supposed to be? Her voice trembled. She looked at her reflection in the water, those same crimson eyes, silver hair tangled from battle. Am I a mistake? Or just the version no one wanted? Rimuru felt her heart in that moment, not as something broken, but something that had endured breaking, again and again, and kept walking. And that's when she felt it. Him. His existence. His world. There you were. The version that was chosen. That's when she followed the pull. Through dimensions. Through memories. Until she found him. Chapter 17, Return to the Balcony. The memory ended like a dream snapping shut. Rimuru gasped and stumbled back, hand to his chest, eyes wide. Kagetsu stood where she had been, still, calm. But now he understood. He really understood. Rimuru's voice cracked as he asked, "Why show me that?" She looked away, wind tugging at her silver hair. Because I didn't want to be your enemy. I wanted to see if you would have hated being me. And in that moment, Rimuru didn't see a monster, or a mystery, or even a mirror. He saw someone lost. And maybe someone worth saving. Chapter 18, The Ashes of Liberation. Kagetsu stood in the moonlight, still quiet after showing Rimuru her memories. And then. There's one more thing. Rimuru looked up, still catching his breath. Kagetsu raised her hand. The air around them shimmered, space itself tearing gently like silk, and with a whisper of wind, they vanished. Chapter 19, The Destroyed Kingdom of Liberation. They stood now atop a hill beneath a blackened sky. Before them stretched a ruined city. Massive stone towers, collapsed. Garden walls, cracked and bleeding with twisted vines. The faint scent of ash still lingered in the wind. Moonlight poured over shattered statues and torn banners that once bore a crest, a sword over a blooming flower. Rimuru stepped forward slowly. What is this place? Kagetsu's voice was barely audible. The Kingdom of Liberation. I built it. He turned sharply. You built a kingdom? She nodded once. Not to rule. Just to offer others like me a place. The broken. The forgotten. The monsters who never got names. And what happened? She looked down at her blade. I was too strong. Too strange. Too free. The gods of that world called me a mistake. A fracture. They sent heroes to fix me. Rimuru's chest tightened. He could feel it, see the ghostly traces of battle everywhere. You fought alone? Kagetsu finally sat, in the remains of what might have once been a throne made from roots and stone. Until I stopped calling it fighting. And started calling it loss. She reached out, brushing her fingers across a cracked tile. This was my last try. My last hope that I could exist somewhere and not have to explain why I did. Rimuru sat beside her in silence. The wind blew through the ruins, soft and sad. Why show me this? He asked. She looked at him, really looked at him. Because you're the only one who might understand what it means to be too powerful for peace. Chapter 20, The Warrior of Time. The wind whistled through the ruins of the Kingdom of Liberation, stirring the dust of forgotten dreams. Rimuru remained silent beside Kagetsu, letting the weight of her past settle between them like falling ash. Then she coughed. Once. Lightly. But it was strange. Too gentle. Almost theatrical. Rimuru raised an eyebrow. Are you? Kagetsu smirked slightly. The first hint of amusement he'd seen from her. Fake. I thought the moment was getting too heavy. Rimuru blinked. Seriously? You faked a cough? Keeps the drama from sinking the whole room, she said, standing slowly, brushing dust from her sleeve. Then she looked out over the ruined city once more, eyes narrowing. I suppose I should tell you what I am now. She turned to him, and her voice, quiet as ever, carried the weight of things older than stars. I am not bound to this world. Not anymore. I am a warrior of time. Rimuru's expression sharpened. Warrior? Not warrior? Correct, she said with a faint nod. I don't fight against time. I worry for it. She stepped forward, one foot onto a broken tile, her silver hair catching the moonlight like strands of silk. I do not belong to any one realm. I exist across all of them. My body doesn't anchor to a timeline. My soul doesn't tether to a single outcome. I walk where I'm needed, and often where I'm not. Rimuru's voice was low. So you're like a living paradox. More like a living footnote, she said softly. I appear where stories try to forget something important. She smiled, not warm, but wistful. I worried for this place once. Now I leave it to its rest. Rimuru stood, eyes narrowed. And Tempest? Are you here to worry for us? Kagetsu paused. That depends on whether your story forgets something too.